A very good morning, students. Today we will see the latter part of this chapter, that is law of motion. In the previous lecture, we studied about uniform and non-uniform motion, acceleration, distance time graph for body moving with uniform speed, and distance time graph for body moving with non-uniform speed. In today's lecture, we will study about distance time graph for a body moving with uniform velocity, mass and inertia, balanced and unbalanced force, and definitely we are going to study about Newton's first law of motion. So let's start. See, one activity was being left in the yesterday's lecture, so I'm taking that activity now. Here you are seeing a velocity time graph for uniform acceleration. Okay, to the left hand side of the table, we are seeing time. Okay, and the next column is of velocity in meter per second. Now, if we see the time column carefully, the time is being varying in the intervals of 5 seconds. Okay, you can also say the time is being varying in the multiple of 5. And you see that after every 5th second, the velocity of the object is being noted. Okay, so if at 5 seconds, we are having velocity of the object, the body or the car as 8 meter per second. At 10 seconds, we are having 16 meter per second as the velocity. At 15 seconds, we are having 24 meter per second as velocity. At 20 seconds, the velocity is noted down as 32. At 25, it is 40. At 30, it is 48. And at 35, it is 56. Now, if you look at the velocity column carefully, what we can see is velocity column is varying in the multiple of 8. That is, I can say here the first 5th second, I'm having 8 meter per second as velocity. Then 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56. So you can say the velocity is varying in the multiple of 8. So you can also say the motion is of uniform velocity. Okay, after every 5 seconds, the velocity is having the same value. If you want to see, you can see here itself, you can say 16 minus 8 is 8. 24 minus 16 is 8. Similarly, 40 minus 32 is 8. Similarly, 56 minus 48 is 8. So here you can say the velocity is varying in the multiple of 8. Now, what we do over here is we plot a graph of velocity versus time. What we do over here is we plot velocity on the y-axis and time on x-axis. Now you can see we have taken the same intervals of time and velocity on the graph itself. You can see the time is varying as 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. Similarly, you can say the velocity is being varying in the multiples of 8. So it is going to be very easy for us to plot the graph. Okay, now what we do is when the time is 0, the velocity is 0, what I do is I plot the point over here. When the time is 5 seconds, velocity is 8 meter per second. So when it is 5, velocity is 8. So I plot the point over here. Similarly, when the time is 10, the velocity is 16. So at time as 10 seconds, I can plot the velocity as 16. Then at 15 seconds, the velocity is 24. At 20th second, the velocity is 32. At 25th second, the velocity is, I can say, 40. So we'll plot a point 40 over here like this. Okay. Now see. Okay. Then you can say at 30th second, the velocity is 48. So I'll plot the point over here. And finally, at the 35th second, the velocity is 56. So you can see if I join all these points, then what will happen? It will give me a straight line graph passing through origin. So in the yesterday's lecture only, we said whenever it is a straight line graph passing through origin, that motion is going to be called as a uniform motion. Now also see that acceleration is nothing but change in velocity upon time. So if the velocity is being varying uniformly, you can also say the acceleration has to be varying uniformly. This is the reason why we are being writing over here velocity time graph for uniform acceleration. Now, one part that has to be noted over here is, what if I find slope? What if I want to find acceleration of this graph between the time interval 10th second and the 20th second? So the velocities corresponding to the 10th second and the 20th second are these, and the time intervals are these. So I can make use of the formula acceleration is final velocity. What is the final velocity? Is it is 32. Initial velocity is 40 upon time interval is 20 minus 10. So you can say this is nothing but 16 upon 10. So ultimately this is going to give me 1.6 meter per second square as acceleration. Now, one thing that has to be noted in this graph is you can take any point on this straight line. You are always going to end up with the same value of acceleration, that is 1.6 meter per second square. Okay. We infer over here is the acceleration is always going to be constant when the speed is changing uniformly. We move on to the next slide now. Here you are seeing a picture. In this picture, we are seeing a magician. Okay. And the magician pulls off the tablecloth. He pulls off the tablecloth so swiftly that the objects placed on the table still remain intact. Okay. By default, this object should have fallen off or should have come out with the tablecloth itself. But definitely he is a magician. He is trying this trick with the help of simple physics. So we say, why do the dishes stay on the table when the tablecloth is pulled out? The dishes stay because of inertia. Their tendency to keep doing what they are already doing. You can try this magic at home itself, definitely with unbreakable dishes. Do try this at home, but with unbreakable dishes. So see, these magicians are making use of physics in our day-to-day life, a simple physics that we all see. Okay. So here we are coming across a term which is called as inertia. We'll see what is inertia now. By definition, inertia is the property or tendency of every object to resist any change in its state of rest or of uniform force and laws of motion. It is measured by the mass of object. The heavier the object, the greater will be its inertia. Inertia वो प्रॉपर्टी है एक बॉडी की जो हमेशा कोई भी उसमें बदलाव लाने की कोशिश करेगा तो उसे वो क्या करने वाली है, उसे वो रोकने वाली है, उस बदलाव को वो रोकने की कोशिश करेगी. और वो जो प्रॉपर्टी होने वाली है उसको हम लोग इनर्शिया बोलने वाले हैं। रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में आप इनर्शिया का एक सिंपल एग्जांपल ले लीजिए। आप कोई स्कूटी रहेगी 125 किलो की, आप उसे आसानी से धक्का देके आगे पीछे कर सकते हैं। क्यों? क्योंकि उसका मास कितना है? 125 केजी। बट वही अगर आप ट्रक को आप फोर्स लगाएंगे, आप धक्का मारने की कोशिश करेंगे, तो वो ट्रक जो का त्यों वहीं का वहीं खड़ा रहेगा, जो कि रेस्ट पोजीशन पे रहेगा। और आप कितना भी जोर लगाएंगे उस ट्रक को, जो कि आप बोल सकते हैं 500 किलो का अगर समझ लेते हैं होगा, तो वो ट्रक तो हिलने वाला नहीं है। सो यहाँ पे इनर्शिया वो प्रॉपर्टी होती है जो कि उस जो चीज होने वाली है उसका जो वजन होने वाला है उस पर निर्भर करने वाली है। You can also say inertia is a property that will be possessed by the body on the account of its mass. The more the mass, the more is the inertia. One more silly example I would like to take over here pertaining to inertia is, suppose if you are watching television and you are at rest, and your mom comes and she says, sit for the lecture or do homework. Will you be able to stand up and do the work that is being assigned to you? No, because you are in that particular state of inertia only, at rest, you are watching the TV, you are enjoying the same thing that you are doing. Similarly, the objects that are being there, they continue to be in the same, in the same way they are there. So there is definitely a difference between mass and inertia. We will now see. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. The more the mass of an object, the more is the inertia of the object. Bigger, more massive objects are harder to start and stop because they have more mass and therefore more inertia. It is very easy. There are two pictures in this slide. Okay, one is a heavy vehicle. One is a heavy vehicle. I can also say it is a jeep, a heavy jeep. And one is a car. Now, what if the car is being moving with some velocity? You will apply brake. Definitely, the car will take some time, of course, a meager time to stop. But at the same time, if you try to stop this heavy vehicle, it won't stop that easily and with that meager time. This is the difference between mass and inertia. Mass is the amount of matter, whereas inertia is, the resistance that would be offered by the object. Okay? Now see here, we are seeing a slide where definitely now the football fever is being going on. So this is the reason why I took this slide. The first picture says an object at rest will remain at rest. फुटबॉल जहां पे पड़ा होगा वो वहीं के वहीं रेस्ट पे पड़ा रहेगा. बट जब फुटबॉलर आएगा और उस फुटबॉल को किक करेगा तब ही जाके वो फुटबॉल अपनी पोजीशन चेंज करेगा. So unless acted on by an unbalanced force, the football will stay at rest only. Okay, its inertia is to stay at rest. An object in motion will continue with the constant speed and direction. The moment the footballer is applying a force on the football will definitely start moving with some velocity in the forward direction, and it will continue to move in the forward direction. So again, the inertia part has come into picture. So here the inertia says the body will continue its motion. The football will continue its state of motion. Unless and until now the football hits the net, then only the football will come to rest. So you say, unless acted on by an unbalanced force, the football won't stop. It would continue to take its state of motion. Here, unbalanced force, there are two unbalanced force that are being seen in this picture. The first unbalanced force is the force that is being exerted by the footballer on the football. Okay. And the second force that we are seeing is that is exerted by the net on the football. This is the reason why the football would come to rest. So there is always an unbalanced force which is responsible for the state of rest and also responsible for the state of motion. कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट अगर स्टेट ऑफ रेस्ट में रहेगा तो उसकी मोशन स्टेट ऑफ रेस्ट चेंज करने के लिए उस पर फोर्स एक्सर्ट करना पड़ेगा. वो फोर्स हम लोग बोलेंगे अनबैलेंस्ड है. अनबैलेंस्ड क्यों है? क्योंकि एक ही डायरेक्शन में है. ओके. फिर क्या होने वाला है? डेफिनेटली एक बार वो ऑब्जेक्ट की स्टेट चेंज होगी तो वो क्या करेगा, वो दूसरी स्टेट में निकल गया मोशन की, तो वो मोशन में ही रहेगा. और मोशन में कब तक रहेगा? जब तक उस पर वापस अनबैलेंस्ड फोर्स एक्ट नहीं होता. सो दिस इज द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ अनबैलेंस्ड फोर्स. Now students will ask me, what is the difference between balanced and unbalanced force? If two individual forces are of equal magnitude and opposite direction, acting on the same object, then the forces are said to be balanced. When only balanced force act on an object, the object is said to be in equilibrium. To the right hand side of the slide, you are seeing a person standing on ground. Let us suppose that the weight of the person is 65 kg. So 65 into 9.8, whatever it is, whatever the value comes, that force acts in the downward direction. Now what floor does is, the floor, the ground, you can say, the floor exerts equal and opposite force on the person itself. So you can say how the forces directions are being seen in this picture. If the force ka magnitude is 65 into 9.8, the similar magnitude force will be exerted in the upward direction. So you say the force is balanced one. आप जब भी फ्लोर पे खड़े होते हैं तो आपका जो वेट होता है वो उस फ्लोर के निचली डायरेक्शन में एक्सर्ट होने वाला है. आपका बॉडी वेट इंटू 9.8. तो फ्लोर क्या करने वाला है? आप पर उतना ही इक्वल और ऑपोजिट फोर्स एक्सर्ट करने वाला है. सो सच अ फोर्स इज कॉल्ड एज अ बैलेंस. आप खुद ही डायग्राम में देख सकते हैं कि एक फोर्स जो नीचे की तरफ जा रहा है और उसी के इतना फोर्स ऊपर की तरफ जा रहा है. सो आप बोल सकते हैं नीचे वाला फोर्स अगर आप पॉजिटिव लेते हैं और ऊपर वाला नेगेटिव लेते हैं तो प्लस 65 into 9.8 प्लस माइनस 65 into 9.8, तो आपको दिखेगा टोटल फोर्स वो ऑब्जेक्ट पे जो एक्ट हो रहा है वो है 0. दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई वी से the net force on the object is 0. We say it is a balanced force. So यहाँ पे इस जो स्लाइड में आप देख रहे हैं वो एग्जाम्पल है बैलेंस्ड फोर्स का. वही आप ऑपोजिट अनबैलेंस्ड फोर्स को देखेंगे तो अनबैलेंस्ड फोर्स का एक ही डायरेक्शन होने वाला है, ओके, या तो ये, उसको बैलेंस कोई भी ऑपोजिट फोर्स नहीं है, नेट फोर्स 0 नहीं है, इसलिए हम लोग उसको अनबैलेंस्ड फोर्स कहते हैं. So this is the difference between balanced and unbalanced force. Now basically you can see a person in this picture who is very much familiar to you. His name is Sir Isaac Newton, born on 1643 and took his last breath in the year 1727. An English scientist and mathematician famous for his discovery of law of gravity, also discovered three laws of motion. Today, these laws are known as Newton's law of motion and describe the motion of all objects on the scale we experience in our day-to-day life. Now see, Newton was the first physicist who actually gave us three laws of motion pertaining to our day-to-day life situations, the experiences that we are observing in our day-to-day life. What does it mean? Basically, an object will keep doing what it was doing unless it was acted upon by unbalanced force. If the object was sitting still, it will remain stationary, it will remain still. If it was moving at constant velocity, it will keep moving. It takes force to change the motion of the object. So with the previous examples, we could make out that object at rest was being disturbed by the unbalanced force of the football was at rest. The footballer came, kicked the football. He applied the force. So the state of rest was changed to state of motion. Okay. So it is the force which is responsible for the motion. At the same time, as long as the state of motion was there, it was being abrupted by the net force. The net is exerting an opposite force on the ball, which causes the football to take the state of rest. So here also you are seeing a picture. Motorcycle is being moving in the forward direction. It will keep on moving in the forward direction unless and until it hits the wall. It hits the wall, definitely it would come to rest, because you can see now the force is balanced, equal and opposite force. जितना force वो मोटरसाइकिल और वो बाइकर वो वॉल पे एग्जर्ट करेगा, उतना ही इक्वल एंड ऑपोजिट फोर्स वो बाइकर और मोटरसाइकिल पे एग्जर्ट करेगी, और तब ही जाके वो मोटरसाइकिल रेस्ट पे आएगी. And if it is not the case, it would continue to move in its state of motion. So आज हम लोग क्या देख रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे जो ऑब्जेक्ट है वो रेस्ट में रहेगा तो रेस्ट में ही रहेगा, मोशन में रहा तो मोशन में ही रहेगा. कब तक? जब तक उस पर कोई फोर्स एक्ट नहीं होता. और इसी से हमारा न्यूटन का हम लोग लॉ डिड्यूस करेंगे. हम लोग रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में ये टग ऑफ वॉर देखते हैं. आप यहाँ पे पहला जो पिक्चर देख रहे हैं, that is called as tug of war. Two teams are playing tug of war. They are both exerting equal forces on the rope in opposite direction. This is balanced force resulting in no change of motion. Now, if you carefully look at the picture, these three are exerting force in this direction, and these three are exerting force in this direction. So definitely the net force acting at this point is going to be the zero, and there will be no motion at all. जब भी force balance होगा तो तभी force क्या होगा? Zero होगा. But वही आप यहाँ पे फुटबॉल का आप यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल देख रहे हैं. फुटबॉल अभी रेस्ट पे है, उस पर अनबैलेंस्ड फोर्स जैसे ही लगेगा वो फुटबॉल क्या करेगा, फॉरवर्ड मोशन में मूव करना शुरू करेगा. So here we say a soccer ball is sitting at rest. It takes an unbalanced force of a kick to change its motion. So as long as this unbalanced force was not acting, the soccer ball was at rest. But the moment an unbalanced force means a force in one direction only, okay, is being acted on that soccer ball, the soccer ball will tend to move. So now we will see the difference between balanced and unbalanced force. Unbalanced force can cause an object to start moving, stop moving, or change its direction. Whereas a balanced force does not change the object's motion. An unbalanced force, we say the result in the net force and the cause or change in the object's motion. Unbalanced force, we say equal forces are there but in opposite direction. The most simpler example you can also say, you can take a book which is resting on the table. The book will have some weight which is going to act in the downward direction, which we call it as a force in the downward direction. The table would exert an equal and opposite force on the book itself. So you see the direction of the force itself in the diagram, they are balanced. Okay, so in this case, the book is not going to move anywhere. But what if I take I apply a force in this direction? What would happen? The book will move in the forward direction. So this force is going to be called as unbalanced force. So these are the differences between balanced and unbalanced forces. You are now seeing a picture where a person is playing pool. You can see the balls are at rest. Okay. And what this person is doing is he is applying a force with the help of stick. The moment he is applying an unbalanced force with the help of sticks, this pool ball will definitely take up the motion. Okay. So now students, we will learn Newton's first law of motion. By this time, I think you must have noted what it will be. Okay. So the statement of Newton's first law is an object at rest will remain at rest, and the object moving at constant velocity will continue moving at constant velocity unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced force. Okay, so this is the statement of Newton's first law of motion. So now we come to the next part of this lecture, a very, very important derivation that is appearing in this slide. We will now see. The derivation is very, very simple. Just try to understand. This is the equation for velocity time relation by graphical method. Now, here we are seeing an object undergoing velocity in a definite time interval. Let us say the object has initial velocity u, and the velocity is changing uniformly. Definitely, when the velocity changes, there will be acceleration. So we say, let the object reaches point B with some velocity. Okay, so object starts from point D, it reaches point B. Since there is change in velocity, definitely there will be change in acceleration. Let us say the object is moving with uniform acceleration A. Why we are saying uniform? Because the velocity is changing uniformly. Now let us say after some interval of time t, the object reaches point B. We draw a line parallel to x-axis, that is from point B, I draw a line parallel to the x-axis. That line is nothing but CB. We draw another line which is parallel to y-axis. We call that line as BE, intersecting the x-axis at point E. We again draw a line parallel to x-axis, that is DA, and we now move on to the next slide. Now see here, we will first define what are the terms. Initially, the object was having velocity u. When the object reaches point B, the final velocity is v. Okay, so in the time, you can say OE was the total time that was being taken up by the object to reach point B. What is BE? BE is nothing but BA plus AE. So here we say BE equal to AB or BA plus AE. Now we say BE. What is BE? BE is nothing but here a definite time interval that we saw. So we say AB and CD are parallel to each other. I can say this and this is parallel. So instead of AB, I can write CD. Instead of AB, I can write CD in the place of AB. Now the equation becomes V equal to DC plus OD. Now see, we can say AB is nothing but DC and AE equal to OD. Here you can say AE and OD are same. So where I can say there is AE, instead of AE, I will write it as OD. हम लोगों ने क्या किया है यहाँ पे AB की जगह पे DC यहाँ पे सब्स्टिट्यूट किया और AE की जगह पे OD सब्स्टिट्यूट किया because they are of same length. Now we move on further. Now I get is V equal to DC plus U. We all know the formula for acceleration. Acceleration is change in velocity upon time taken. But what is the change in acceleration? Final velocity minus initial velocity upon time taken. Final velocity is V minus initial velocity is U upon time taken is T. But what is V? V is nothing but OC. U is nothing but OD upon T. So what is happening? OC minus OD is going to give me this part, that is DC. So instead of OC minus OD, I will write DC upon T. So take DC here, and what we do is we rearrange the term. So this T in the denominator will go to the left hand side, will become AT, and we'll get AT equal to DC, which we will substitute. So what we get is, in the next step, we say V equal to U plus AT. This is nothing but the Newton's first law of motion. You have to remember this. In the shortcut, I'll again explain this. What we did was, we initially specified all the term. Initial velocity is u, final velocity is v. The body starts from point D, reaches point B in the time interval t. Draw a parallel BE, draw a parallel BC, and we start the equation. Okay, we say OE equal to T, BE equal to BA plus AE, but BA and CD are same, so instead of BA I'll substitute CD. AE and OD are same, so instead of AE I'll substitute OD. We'll rearrange the term. Then we come to acceleration. Acceleration is nothing but change in velocity upon time. But you know acceleration is final velocity minus initial velocity upon time. Final velocity is OC, initial is OD, and OC minus OD is CD. So we write CD or DC upon time. We rearrange the term, we take this T to the left-hand side, so DC becomes AT. Just substitute this DC as AT in this equation. You will get Newton's first law of motion. We will now see the first problem pertaining to Newton's first law of motion. A cyclist speeds up at a constant rate from rest to 8 meter per second. Now see, rest मतलब उसका initial velocity 0 था, final velocity उसका बना v, and the time is 6 seconds. Simply substitute these values in the equation that we derived just now. The formula is v equal to u plus at. So A is what? V minus u upon t. What is v? Final velocity 8 minus initial velocity 0. So you write 0 upon time is how much? 6 seconds. So we write 6. So this is going to be 4/3 meter per second square. Ultimately, you are going to get the answer as 1.33 meter per second square. We'll now see the next problem. Johnny completes the bicycle ride with final velocity of 10 meter per second. So V is given and acceleration, that is small a, is 2 meter per second square. Within 3 seconds, that is time is 3 seconds. Calculate the initial velocity. What is the data? Final velocity given 10 meter per second. Acceleration is given 2 meter per second square. Time is given 3 seconds. You have to find initial velocity. We know the formula V, that is final velocity, equal to U, that is initial velocity, plus acceleration into time. Just rearrange the term. What we do is we take this 80 to the left-hand side. We will get this equation. Simply substitute the values. You will get the answer. So initial velocity is 10. Acceleration is 2 into time as 3. So the final answer comes out to be 4 meter per second. So initial velocity of Johnny comes out to be 4 meter per second. Next example pertaining to this equation, that is first law of equation, is a train starts from rest. Starts from rest means its initial velocity is 0. Its initial velocity is 0. And accelerates uniformly at a rate of 5 meter per second. So acceleration small a is what? 5 meter per second. For a time of 5 seconds, calculate the velocity of the train in 5 seconds. Definitely, we are writing the data first. Whatever the things that are there in the question, we have to write that data. The formula is v equal to u plus at. So the final velocity v equal to initial velocity, that is going to be 0, plus acceleration is phi, and the time is again phi. So the final velocity comes out to be 25 meter per second. Kindly solve this problem in your books. Next one is, an electron has a constant acceleration of 3.2 meter per second square, that is small a is given to you. At a certain instant, its velocity is 9.6 meter per second. What is the velocity at 2.5 seconds later? Means he wants to find initial velocity. Acceleration is 3.2 meter per second square. Final velocity is 9.6 meter per second square. Initial velocity we have to calculate, that is small u equal to question mark. Time is 2.5 second. Formula is v equal to u plus at. So u is what? V minus at. Just shift the term at to the left hand side and substitute the values. So the initial velocity comes out to be 1.6 meter per second. Okay, the unit here is given. Okay, the initial velocity is going to be 1.6 meter per second. So students, today's homework is going to be define mass and inertia, state Newton's first law of motion, and derive Newton's first law of equation with graphical method. Now only we saw graphical method. That question comes out for 4 to 5 marks. So please do not skip it. It is very easy. Just understand the graph very thoroughly, and then you can write the equation on your own. So it is not at all difficult. So students, with this, our lecture is done today. Do go through all the terminologies and the Newton's first law of motion equation. It is very, very important from problem solving point of view. I hope you all liked the lecture. Thank you.
Yes, teacher. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, students.